When people think of professional wrestlers, they usually picture massive muscles, intense aggression, and lightning-fast showdowns. But there's another element that keeps fans glued to the screen: giants. These men aren't just big, they look like they've stepped straight out of mythology, making everything around them seem strangely small. In today's video, Wrestling Pro takes you through 20 wrestlers with almost unbelievable physiques, so extraordinary that you might find yourself asking, do they really exist? Get ready, because what you're about to see will leave you stunned from the very first glance. 20. Giant Gonzalez. The moment Giant Gonzalez stepped into the ring, the first thing everyone felt was absolute shock. Standing at 8 feet tall, 2.44 m, he didn't just tower over his contemporaries. He was the tallest athlete ever to appear in WWE history. His presence forced people to look up, even making them question whether he was real. Born Jorge Gonzalez in Argentina, he didn't originally pursue wrestling, but instead aimed for a professional basketball career. In 1988, Gonzalez was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks into the NBA. With his extraordinary size, the team hoped he would become a secret weapon. However, health issues related to hormonal disorders prevented him from sustaining a long-term career at the highest level. Leaving basketball behind, he stepped into a different spotlight: professional wrestling. Gonzalez debuted in WCW under the name El Gigante and quickly found himself facing legends like Ric Flair. But it wasn't until Royal Rumble 1993, when he appeared as Giant Gonzalez, that the world truly took notice. Though not an official entrant, he shockingly stormed into the match and eliminated The Undertaker with a brutal and unbelievable interference. His wrestling career was short-lived, but the image of a true giant wearing that bizarre muscle suit remains unforgettable. Gonzalez retired in 1995, returned to Argentina, and battled diabetes and kidney failure until his passing. Even though his time in the ring was brief, his presence was impossible to ignore, a giant in the truest sense of the word. 19. Andre the Giant. Standing next to Andre the Giant, you'd feel like you were shrinking. Andre wasn't just big. He was one of the greatest icons in the history of professional wrestling. Born in France as André René Roussimoff, he suffered from acromegaly, a condition that caused his body to grow continuously. As an adult, he stood 7 feet 4 inches, 2.24 meters, tall and weighed over 500 pounds, 226 kilograms. André's size didn't just turn heads, it created a mythical aura of invincibility. He began wrestling in the 1960s and quickly became a global attraction, overwhelming opponents without the need for cheap tricks. When he arrived in WWE during the 1970s and 1980s, his fame exploded. The nickname, the Eighth Wonder of the World, was more than deserved. André remained undefeated for nearly 15 years, becoming a nightmare for anyone brave enough to face him. His most legendary moment came at WrestleMania 3 in 1987, when he faced Hulk Hogan in front of over 93,000 fans. The sight of Hogan lifting and slamming André became one of the most iconic images in wrestling history. But his enormous size came at a heavy cost. Chairs weren't big enough, doors were too narrow, and even drinking glasses barely fit in his hands. By the early 1990s, his health had declined severely. Even so, long after his passing, André remains the standard by which every other giant is measured. He wasn't just a big man, he was the giant. 18. Haystacks Calhoun. How does a man weighing over 600 pounds, 270 kilograms, come to be remembered as the definition of a gentle giant? The answer is Haystacks Calhoun. Wrestling barefoot, wearing denim overalls, and always flashing a warm smile, he brought a rare sense of friendliness to the ring. Born in Texas as William D. Calhoun, he was not only large in body but also big in heart. From his earliest appearances, his 600-plus-pound frame left audiences in awe, but what truly won them over was the kindness behind his intimidating size. His denim overalls and the massive horseshoe he wore around his neck became his unmistakable trademarks. His in-ring style was built around simple-looking moves like body splashes and sit-down attacks, but when Calhoun delivered them, they were nearly impossible to stop. From the 1950s through the late 1970s, he was a familiar face in American wrestling, especially in tag team competition. Outside the ring, Calhoun was known for his generosity and warmth. In a world where size often equals fear, Haystacks proved that a giant could also be the most lovable hero of all. 17. Paul White, Big Show. No one represents the image of the modern-day giant more clearly than Paul White, better known as Big Show. Standing 7 feet tall, 2.13 m, and weighing over 400 pounds, 180 kilograms, he wasn't just big. He was the living definition of dominance. Born with acromegaly, Paul's body grew at an uncontrollable rate. As a teenager, he was already taller than most of his teachers. Fortunately, timely surgery stopped the condition from progressing further, but by then, he was already destined to become one of the most physically intimidating athletes in wrestling history. Big Show began his career in WCW in 1995 under the name The Giant, shocking the world by defeating Hulk Hogan to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship in his debut match, something that had never been done before. In 1999, he joined WWE and quickly became a cornerstone of the company. From World Championships to Tag Team titles, the Hardcore Championship, and the Intercontinental title, there wasn't a belt Big Show hadn't held. But what truly set him apart was his versatility. At times a cold, fear-inducing villain, and at others a lovable giant delivering comedy segments alongside John Cena. In an industry where fans grow bored quickly and gimmicks age fast, Big Show endured through intelligence, adaptability, and unmatched presence. He wasn't just a giant. He was a true artist of professional wrestling. 16. The Great Khali. Who says professional wrestling is only a Western playground? The Great Khali, the giant from India, shattered that notion with every earth-shaking step he took inside a WWE ring. Born Dalip Singh Rana, Khali was once a police officer in the Indian state of Punjab, already known for his extraordinary strength. When he arrived in WWE, he transformed into a true monster, standing 7 feet 1 inch, 2.16 meters, tall, weighing over 350 pounds, 160 kilograms, and carrying the aura of a fearless warrior. Khali made his WWE debut in 2006 and immediately set his sights on The Undertaker, a statement not meant for the faint of heart. And he wasn't just testing the waters. In 2007, Khali made history by becoming the first Indian World Heavyweight Champion. His finishing move, the Punjabi plunge, wasn't flashy, but once it connected, the match was essentially over. Outside the ring, Khali surprised fans with his friendly, humorous personality and even appeared in Bollywood films. After leaving WWE, he founded Continental Wrestling Entertainment, training a new generation of wrestlers in India. From a small-town police officer to a world champion, Khali wasn't just a giant. He became a symbol of pride for millions. 15. Omos. When people talk about WWE giants, they usually think of legends from the past, until Omos arrived, as if WWE were rewriting history right before our eyes. Standing 7 feet 3 inches, 2.21 meters, tall and weighing over 400 pounds, 180 kilograms, Omos walks into the ring like a moving skyscraper. What's even more shocking is his agility. He moves with a speed and smoothness that seem impossible for a body of that size. Born in Lagos, Nigeria, as Tolulope Jordan Omogbin, Omos played college basketball at the University of South Florida and Morgan State. WWE quickly signed him not just for his height, but for his undeniable presence. Initially appearing as AJ Styles' bodyguard, Omos was intimidating even when he did nothing more than stand still. At WrestleMania 37, Omos made his in-ring debut and immediately captured the Raw Tag Team Championship. Since then, he has faced major names like Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, and Brock Lesnar, and most importantly, he wasn't crushed. Omos proved he isn't big just for show, but a very real threat. Proud of his Nigerian roots, Omos is leading a new era of giants. Modern, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. 14. Braun Strowman. Some wrestlers walk onto the stage. Braun Strowman storms in and shakes the entire arena. With fire in his eyes and power to match, he commands attention the moment he appears. Born Adam Scherr, standing 6 feet 8 inches, 2.03 meters, and weighing around 382 pounds, 173 kilograms, Braun came from the world of professional strongman, where pulling trucks and lifting massive weights were everyday feats. When WWE gave him the spotlight, fans didn't see just another big man, they saw a walking engine of destruction. Starting out in the Wyatt family, Braun made an impact through eerie silence alone. But once he went solo, the real devastation began, tossing Roman Reigns around like a ragdoll, flipping ambulances, and tearing apart the ring with nothing but raw power. No tricks, just force. That's how the nickname, the Monster Among Men, was born. At WrestleMania 36, Braun captured the Universal Championship, proving he wasn't only built to destroy, but to dominate. In 2022, after being released, he made a shocking return. Music hit, lights exploded, and the crowd erupted. Braun doesn't need many words. He shows up, wrecks everything, and leaves an echo behind. That's how a giant builds a legacy. 13. Giant Silva. Some people become unforgettable the moment they appear. Giant Silva was one of them. Standing 7 feet 2 inches, 2.18 meters, tall and weighing over 380 pounds, 172 kilograms, his frame made every entranceway look far too small. Born Paulo Cesar da Silva, he was once a professional basketball player and even represented Brazil at the 1988 Olympics, a rare background in the world of wrestling. In the late 1990s, he transitioned into professional wrestling, joining the WWF as part of the Bizarre Oddities faction. What made Silva stand out wasn't just his size, but his positive energy, joyful personality, and approachable presence. After leaving WWE, he ventured into MMA in Japan, facing names like Akabano and Choi Hongman. While he didn't rack up many wins, the sight of a true titan stepping into the fight cage was unforgettable on its own. Silva's success wasn't measured by championship belts, but by the way audiences simply couldn't look away. 12. Kurrgan, Robert Maillet. Not every giant relies solely on size. Some step into the ring with an aura that makes opponents wary instantly, and Kurrgan was a perfect example. Standing 6 feet 10 inches, 2.08 meters, with a massive frame and a cold, piercing stare, Robert Maillet emerged during WWE's chaotic Attitude Era. He was first introduced as part of the Truth Commission, but truly won fans over after joining the Oddities, where he was both intimidating and, surprisingly, dancing and causing playful chaos. After leaving WWE, Maillet transitioned into acting, appearing in films such as 300 and Sherlock Holmes. From a silent giant in the wrestling ring to a menacing presence on the big screen, Robert Maillet built a career that was anything but forgettable. 11. Nathan Jones. Some careers burn like fireworks, brilliant, short-lived, and gone too soon. Nathan Jones is one of those stories. Standing 6 feet 11 inches, 2.11 meters, tall and weighing around 330 pounds, 150 kilograms, Jones once served time for armed robbery at the notorious Bago Road prison in Australia, where he earned the nickname the Colossus of Bago Road. After turning his life around, he moved into bodybuilding and eventually professional wrestling. WWE once viewed him as a future star, even pairing him with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 19. However, limited mobility and in-ring experience caused those plans to fall apart. After leaving WWE, Jones found his true spotlight in Hollywood, appearing in films such as Troy, Mad Max, Fury Road, and The Protector. He was still a warrior, just fighting on a different stage. 10. Giant Haystacks, Martin Ruan. If there were ever a man who truly deserved the title of the ultimate giant of professional wrestling, look no further than Martin Ruan, better known as Giant Haystacks. Standing 6 feet 11 inches, 2.11 meters, tall and weighing over 680 pounds, 310 kilograms, Haystacks made the ring tremble with every step he took. Born in 1946 in Camberwell to an Irish family, Ruan moved to Salford at a young age. Before becoming a wrestler, he worked physically demanding jobs such as a construction laborer and nightclub bouncer, roles perfectly suited to his natural size and strength. He began his wrestling career in 1967 under the name Luke McMasters, but it wasn't until the 1970s, after becoming Giant Haystacks, that he truly shook the wrestling world. His legendary rivalry with Big Daddy remains one of the greatest chapters in British wrestling history. Haystacks didn't limit his impact to Europe. He also competed in North America, wrestling in Canada under the nickname the Loch Ness Monster, and later appearing in WCW as part of the Dungeon of Doom. Outside the ring, Ruan was a private, deeply religious man devoted to his family. Married at just 17 and a father of 3, Giant Haystacks wasn't just a wrestler, he was the symbol of an era long gone. 9. Big Cass. It's rare to see someone nearly 7 feet tall move with the agility of a man half his size, and Big Cass, real name William Morrissey, is that exception. Standing 6 feet 10 inches, 2.08 meters, and weighing over 270 pounds, 122 kilograms, Cass had both the size and the star presence. When he entered WWE alongside Enzo Amore, the duo quickly took over NXT and the main roster. Every entrance was loud, cocky, and bursting with energy. But the spotlight isn't always kind. Cass struggled with injuries, personal issues, and mental health challenges, which ultimately led to his departure from WWE. Many thought it was the end, but it wasn't. He made a powerful comeback under the name W. Morrissey, and later as Big Bill in AEW. Now, every big boot and chokeslam is a statement. This giant never disappeared, he simply evolved. 8. Kane. Imagine a giant standing 7 feet tall, 2.13 m, weighing 320 pounds, 145 kilograms, wearing a red and black mask as he emerges through fire and smoke. That's not a horror movie, that's Kane. Debuting in 1997, Glenn Jacobs tore the steel door off the Hell in a Cell to confront The Undertaker, a moment that made the entire wrestling world hold its breath. Kane wasn't just a big man, he was the physical embodiment of darkness. The rivalry between Kane and The Undertaker became one of WWE's greatest epics. But Kane never lived in anyone's shadow. He battled Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, and John Cena, terrifying yet agile and even capable of comedy, especially during his unforgettable tag team run with Daniel Bryan. The most unbelievable part. After unmasking and retiring, Kane became the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. From setting the ring on fire to running a county government, only Kane could do both. 7. The Undertaker. How do you make an entire arena rise to its feet with nothing but silence? The answer is The Undertaker. Mark Calloway, standing 6 feet 10 inches, 2.08 meters, and weighing around 300 pounds, 136 kilograms, debuted in WWE in 1990 to the chilling sound of funeral bells. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was a living legend, the immortal soul of WWE itself. Behind the dead man persona was an elite athlete, durable, surprisingly agile, and a master storyteller inside the ring. The crown jewel of his legacy was the 21-0 undefeated streak at WrestleMania, with each match feeling like a chapter in an epic saga. From Kane and Shawn Michaels to Triple H and Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker didn't just pass through eras, he defined them. When he raises his hand, the lights go out. When the bell tolls, the world falls silent. Because when The Undertaker appears, everything stops. 6. Tyson Tomko. With a legit height of around 6 feet 7 inches, Tyson Tomko wasn't the tallest giant, but his thick, heavily built upper body made him look incredibly imposing inside the ring. Tomko's wrestling style leaned toward basic power offense, punches, shoulder blocks, and slams, simple but effective, fitting perfectly with the role of an enforcer. Tomko was best known to WWE audiences as Christian's bodyguard. It was a role that suited his niche, quiet, loyal, and always ready to step in when things got physical. While he was never the centerpiece, Tomko made Christian feel far more dangerous and credible by his presence alone. After leaving WWE, Tomko moved to TNA, where he continued filling similar roles within major factions. However, much like in WWE, he was rarely pushed into the top spotlight. His in-ring ability was solid, but he lacked the explosive personality that often separates stars from supporting acts in such a fiercely competitive environment. Tyson Tomko represents a very realistic type of big man in wrestling, the high-quality supporting piece. Not everyone is meant to be a main event star, but wrestlers like Tomko are what keep the entire system running smoothly. 5. Big John Studd. Who would dare to stare down Andre the Giant and declare, "I'm the real giant here"? That man was Big John Studd. Standing 6 feet 10 inches, 2.08 meters, tall and weighing around 365 pounds, 165 kilograms, Studd was a cornerstone of WWE throughout the 1980s. His rivalry with Andre reached its peak at WrestleMania I, when Andre lifted and slammed Studd in the famous $15,000 Body Slam Challenge, a truly historic moment. But for Andre to look that legendary, his opponent had to be a genuine giant as well. Studd also battled Hulk Hogan, Jake Roberts, and King Kong Bundy, and went on to win the 1989 Royal Rumble. He embodied the pride, power, and spirit of wrestling's golden era. 4. Erick Rowan. With a legit height of around 6 feet 7 inches, Erick Rowan isn't as towering as some of the other big men on this list, but his thick build, broad shoulders, and long arms make him look extremely imposing in the ring. Rowan's in-ring style is slow, heavy, and collision-based, the kind of street-level brutality you expect from a true giant. Rowan is best known for his role as a member of the Wyatt family alongside Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Within the group, he wasn't the leader, But he was the violent arm, the enforcer who carried out orders without questions. This was the perfect niche for him, quiet, unpredictable, and constantly dangerous. After the Wyatt family disbanded, Rowan struggled to find a clear identity on his own. WWE experimented with different directions, from bizarre characters to more serious singles runs, but none truly stuck. Even without becoming a main event star, Erick Rowan remains a prime example of a big man who supports storytelling. He doesn't need the spotlight. His presence alone, at the right moment, is enough to make any story feel darker and more threatening. 3. Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious was one of those big men who both fascinated audiences and made them feel uneasy at the same time. With a legit height of around 6 feet 7 inches, Sid had a tall, lean frame, broad shoulders, and an unusually long wingspan. What made him feel larger than the numbers, however, was his presence. Intense eyes, jerky movements, and promos filled with chaotic energy. Sid didn't need to shout. Just standing there was enough to create a sense of instability. Wrestling under names like Sid Justice and Psycho Sid, he was portrayed exactly as his nickname suggested, a man barely under control. Feuds with Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker showed that WWE viewed Sid as a legitimate main event level threat. Sid's biggest weakness was inconsistency. Injuries, personal decisions, and backstage issues repeatedly interrupted his career. But when Sid was at his best, he felt incredibly real. A big man who didn't follow the standard mold, unpredictable and driven by pure instinct. Sid Vicious represents a very specific niche, a giant powered by aura rather than technique. He may not be a flawless legend, but he is undoubtedly one of the most memorable big men wrestling has ever seen. Paul Bunyan, Max Palmer. Max Palmer was billed at an incredible 8 feet 2 inches, with his legit height often estimated around 7 feet 7 inches. While the exact number has always been debated, one thing is undeniable. He towered over everyone around him, even other big men of his era. Every time Palmer stepped into the ring, he didn't need to do much. His sheer size alone changed the atmosphere. Competing during the early days of American wrestling, Palmer was presented with the Paul Bunyan image, like a giant pulled straight out of folklore. At that time, height itself was the strongest gimmick you could have. Palmer's biggest limitation was mobility, but within the context of that era, it wasn't a deal-breaker. In a niche where size was everything, Max Palmer proved one simple truth. Sometimes, being taller than the rest of the world is enough to become history. Reis. Reis is a clear example that having the perfect physique doesn't guarantee a successful wrestling career. With a legit height of around 7'1" 7'2", he had the ideal build of a true big man and caught WCW's attention after his college basketball background. At first, Reis appeared as Reis, a quiet, power-based giant with real potential. Then WCW made a disastrous decision, turning him into the Yeti, a confusing mummy-style gimmick that quickly destroyed his credibility. Ignoring the gimmick, Reis wasn't a bad wrestler. He was legitimately strong, solid in the ring, and moved well for his size. In his niche, Reis represents a classic lesson in wrestling history. Potential can be ruined by poor character direction. And that wraps up our list of 20 wrestling legends. Which wrestler left the biggest impression on you? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Wrestling Pro, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming countdowns.